Besides the income and social dimension, there are a number of common characteristics of the developed economies. Now, which are the developed economies? We discussed, we said that these are the high income economies as such. And if you really see, these are characterized by what? By widespread use of modern and sophisticated technology, continuous innovations, fast diffusion of ideas and technologies. Why? Because you see that they have a high per capita income, and that is the above $12,196. And again, they have a low share of primary sector, that is the agriculture sector. There is a dominance of the tertiary sector. So you would see that, even if you really look at the developed economies, as such, the service sector tends to be dominant, and this is a recent development. The secondary sector, that is in income and employment generation, comes, you know, on the second rung. It does not take the primary rung as such. Market friendly economic policies, comparatively open trade and investment policies, democratic rights, competition, and consumer choices. Sometimes the terms less developed countries, or which are less developed countries, the low income economies are classified as less developed countries, and more developed countries are used to refer to the developing and developed countries. The use of the term underdeveloped to refer to developing countries is also common. Low income is just an indication of deprivation that people face in developing countries. Low income prevents access to basic necessities and definitely the modern and better amenities. Further, in developing economies, the inequality in distribution of income is very high. And as a result, a large proportion of the population lives in abject poverty. You would see that, like for example, if you really look at areas in Bangladesh, Myanmar, Vietnam, you would see that there is so much of poverty that one actually can never fathom. Although many countries have achieved considerable reduction in poverty, the incidence of poverty is very high in many countries. They are generally characterized by high birth and population growth rates. Death rates are also high. And they are higher than the developed countries. Developing countries are generally characterized by prevalence of rudimentary and traditional methods and obsolete technology. Technology which is absolutely now gone, become irrelevant in the modern world. The group of developed as well as the developing countries is a heterogeneous mixture. Because of the large number, the developing countries exhibit a very diverse spectrum. Within the category of low income economies, for example, sometimes a special category of by name least developed economies is also identified. Most of the least developed economies suffer from one or more of the constraints like a very low GNP, landlocked, remote land, like for example Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, desertification, exposure to natural disasters as such. So, as per the Human Development Report, there are at least 48 developed countries, which include Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Maldives, Mali, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Yemen, and again there are developing economies including South Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, or Taipei. Again, some publications use the term newly industrialized or industrializing now. That is, like for example, China or India. So these economies are in transition phase. They are in the transition from centralized economic system to market economy, which is also known as the transition economy. These transition economies uh, therefore represent a transition from authoritarianism to democracy. Again, an increase in income definitely leads to economic growth, which we have seen, and it has some qualitative dimensions also, like the standard of living, the composition of output, again, the characteristics of working conditions, and overall economic welfare. Okay, so now we will proceed to Unit 4 and we will discuss the nature of economic environment. As discussed in the earlier units, economic environment is a very crucial uh, factor in determining the business dynamics as such. Business fortunes and strategies are influenced by economic characteristics and economic policy dimensions. The economic environment includes what? It includes the structure, the nature of economy, the stage of development of the economy, economic resources. Now this is very important. What do we mean, by economic resources? It's not always about money. It's much more than that, and we'll look into details of it. The level of income, distribution of income, assets, global economic linkages, economic policies, etc. The general level of development of the economy, it has a lot of implications for business. In fact, it has a significant bearing on the nature and size of demand, government policies affecting the business. If you look at countries as such, if you well, if you look at countries as such, so we can say that countries and even regions as such within a country show great differences in the level and pattern of economic development. A widely used method of classification of economies is on the basis of per capita income. What do we mean by per capita income? The average annual income per person, in that particular geographic location. Accordingly, if you really see, the countries are broadly classified as low income economies, high income economies, middle income economies. And who is classifying this? Who has given this classification? Classification has been given by the World Bank. Low income economies. Low income economies are economies with low per capita income, with a gross national income, which is also known as GNI, and GNI is the new term for GNP, gross national product. And this is what the income which is approximately equal to $995 or less. Now, if you really look at, as per the statistics available, there are approximately 40 countries which are lying in the low income economies. High income economies, these are the economies with high level of per capita income, with a gross national income of $12,196 and above. Now, falling in between these two income economies are the middle income economies. If you really see, the middle income economies have been further subdivided by World Bank into low middle income and upper middle income. Low middle income having gross national income between $995 and $3,945. Upper middle income having a gross national income between $3,945 and $12,195. If one were to actually put on a thinking hat, you would realize that differences in the income levels between the countries is not a true reflection of the purchasing powers of the or the living standards as such. So, for example, international comparisons of GNP and per capita income in nominal currency units, say US dollars, do not reflect a realistic picture because the purchasing power of national currencies vary. Further, the exchange rate changes would give a misleading picture of the economic position of the country when the income is converted into dollars from a national currency. Say, for example, if the national currency has depreciated against the dollar at a higher rate than GNI growth, then GNI is converted into dollar. It will show a decline even though GNI has actually increased in terms of national currency. So, to overcome such problems, it has become common to estimate the GNI and per capita income at PPP. What is PPP? Purchasing power parity. So, again, the classification on income group also does not reflect the development status of the economies. So, if you really look at in the group of high income economies, all the oil exporters are not developed economies. For example, Kuwait, UAE. Besides income, some other criteria such as sectoral distribution of income and employment generation, social development indicators are applied whether an economy is developed or developing. Besides the income and social dimensions, there are a number of common characteristics of the developed economies. These are classified by the widespread use of modern and sophisticated technology, continuous innovations, fast diffusion of new ideas and technologies, low share of primary sector. Now let us look at the structure as such. When you look at what do you mean by the sector as such. So if you really see any economy, there is primarily three sectors. Again, agriculture, industry, and services. So primary sector is always agriculture. And secondary is mostly manufacturing, and you will see this across all the economies that we have discussed till now, followed by the tertiary sector, which is a new emergence, especially in the 19th and the 20th century. The 21st century, you would see the dominance of this service sector, and this dominance is what actually tilts the GDP towards it.